Hi everyone, thought I'd do a video, and today I am going to be doing my Read Your Shelf Book-a-thon wrap up, and I am so excited because this readathon is exactly what I needed. I was in a reading slump for so long, and then I read a few books that I really enjoyed, and it just helped a lot. And then I was so excited to hear about this readathon because then I can really get into catching up with reading and all of that stuff, because for the past how many months since the beginning of the year I've been in a really bad reading slump and I've been wanting to pick it up, and this readathon is exactly what I needed. I read 4 books in the readathon, which is awesome, and before that I read about 3 books so far in the month of June, which is awesome, like I said. So I'm going to be sharing with you the books that I completed. Alright, so for the first 2 books I read in this readathon, I read the second part of the selection stories, which is The Guard. I actually read The Prince a few months ago. I was trying to read the whole selection series before The One came out, which is the second book that I read in the readathon, but I was trying to read the whole series in the way that it was intended to be read, sort of. So I was going to read The Prince, The Selection, The Elite, and then The Guard, and then The One, which is how the books and novellas are placed, I guess. But anyways, I read The Guard, and it was so good. It was in Aspen's point of view, and it was really good. It was way better than The Prince, actually, because it was so action-packed, and that's what I really liked about it. And as for The One, it was amazing. I can't even explain how awesome it was. It was just amazing. It like completely like changed my view of the whole series, and it just made it awesome. I never even thought that it would end the way it did, and it was so great. So I'm happy that I finally finished this series because it's really good, and if you guys haven't read it yet, then you guys probably should get on it. The next book that I read in this readathon was Mockingjay by Suzanne. I finally finished it. The way that I sort of read this series was sort of just before the movies came out, I guess. Sometime last year, no wait, sometime the year before last year, so like 2 years ago, I read the first Hunger Games in summer, I believe, and a few months later in November was when it came out, and then the same thing happened with Catching Fire. I read it in the summer, which was, I believe it was in either July or August that I read that, and now I'm reading this again in the summertime, and it was just so good. I like I said with the last one, the endings, they're just insane. I don't know what the authors do that just make it such an amazing ending, and then just like make it like they just completely surprise you pretty much. But it was so good. I'm so happy that it ended the way it did. Both The One and Mockingjay, the series ended perfectly in my opinion. There was there were parts that I wish didn't happen, but I was sort of happy that it happened because it made the book what it was. So it just ended perfectly in my opinion. And the last book that I completed in the Read Your Shelf Book-a-thon, your bookshelf-a-thon, I don't know, I cannot talk. Okay, the last one was called The Hunger by Marsha, Forchuk, Skrypuch. I think that's how you how you say her last name. I am like not talking right now, but it was so good. I actually read this when I was in high school. I believe I was in grade 9 or 10 when I read this, but I finally reread it because I finally got it in my possession, and I am so happy that I finally reread it because this is one of the only historical fiction books that I've ever read. I think it might be the only historical fiction book that I've ever read. But I have a few other historical fiction books in my possession that I have not read, and I am really intimidated by them. So rereading this, it gets me thinking that I can probably handle those historical fiction books. And I don't know, I'm just ready for historical fiction now. I need to get into those other historical fiction books. But it's still pretty intimidating because sometimes with I sort of get the feeling that historical fiction might be a little bit slow for me. But at the same time, I feel like I can do it because, you know, I like at least one historical fiction book, so that should be enough to fuel me to try other historical fiction books. But at the same time, I'm sort of like, you know, I'm like going back and forth with this. So yeah, I'm sort of given a little bit of hope that I can accomplish finishing another historical fiction book. So yeah, that's awesome. I actually didn't know that this was considered historical fiction until I actually looked it up again. So that's great. I know now that I have a historical fiction book that I finished. And how many times have I said historical fiction in like just a few sentences? But anyways, it was really good. I'm really happy that I finally reread it because I remember this being such an amazing book, and I was right. And it was an amazing book. I'm really happy that I reread it. Alright, so I accomplished reading 4 books, but I was not able to read 3 of the books that I set out to read. I'm actually going to start rereading these books again. These books I have actually all read already, but I want to reread them because I read them so long ago. I was actually planning on rereading these for the book, the Read Your Bookshelf-a-thon. But unfortunately I didn't, but I am starting Surviving the Applewhites, and pretty soon I'm gonna reread these guys as well, so I'm happy about that. I'm happy about what I accomplished in this Read Your Bookshelf-a-thon. I completely failed the first one. I tried to do the Read Your Bookshelf-a-thon when it happened back in, it was either January or February, I sort of forget. But anyways, when I first got into the Read Your Bookshelf-a-thon, the first round, I just completely failed. And I think it's because I was trying to force myself to read a certain book that I really wanted to read, but I wasn't getting into for some reason. Like the few words that I did read, it was okay, but at the same time, I don't think it's what I was feeling at the moment. I don't think I should have made myself try to read those books right then and there. So yeah, that's sort of how that happened. But this round, I'm so happy because I read a whole bunch of books, in my opinion. I am so happy in just 1 week, and usually I only read 1 or 2 books each week, which is a huge accomplishment in my opinion. So I'm really happy about what I read, really happy that this readathon happened, so happy, all around happiness. So yeah, that's all I really have to say about that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. So